In this tutorial, we're going to talk about quest features and the new customizable quest abilities. If we go into the Create New Quest section, you notice that this looks quite different from the early version. The Create a Blank Map now, instead of having templates that are pre-made, all of our library of maps are now just blank starting maps. So we find a map that we want, and then from that point we can give it a name. We can assign it to a specific student group. So if I want the lava cave, I assign it to a student group, and then I just go create. If I have a shared quest or I want to share my quest, I can do this over here. So for teachers that have teacher accounts or schools, I can copy a shared quest over. So if a teacher has shared a quest with our account, I can go over here and I can add it to my class. I can also clone any of my existing quests. So any quests that I've already made, I can clone them here. So from this section, I pick out my map again. I'll go back to my lava cave and create. And it will give me a blank map template. From here, you'll notice there is a little sort of guide in the bottom corner, but if I click the page with my right mouse button, I can now add an objective. And at this point, it's going to start looking very similar to previous versions. This will be my intro story, for example. I can add my intro story text here, my task text. I can add files, I can link files, I can embed images, etc. The self-paced feature is the same. So if I mark it as self-paced, a student can just continue on to the next quest objective. If I want to skip an objective, I can select that and it'll just jump to the next one, or I can hide an objective. So if I make a map and then I want to turn off something, I can hide it and it'll actually remove all of the paths to it. So I create this objective marker, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple more, and I'm not going to add anything to them. I'm just going to create them for the sake of showing you how to create paths. So these are my objectives. If I right click an objective, I can now connect it. And at this point, the line will just follow my mouse until I hover on a point and click. And now it will link it by a marker. And I can do the same thing by going from one to the other. And in this case, I'm going to join these as branching options, and I'll create another objective up here. One thing I can also do, if I want to create more personalized paths, I can actually create two-way objectives so that students could go in a couple of different directions. So if I move this down a bit, simply by clicking and holding with my left mouse button, I can move this objective marker. And now I'm going to add a marker from this one over here. And this now means that I need this path to be two-way. So I just right-click it again, connect to an objective, and this time I connect it back to this objective. And now you'll see that this arrow is two-way. So a student can either go from this one to the finish, or they can go from this one over to the right one and then back this way to the finish, and they can get that objective. As I said before, if I decide that I want to turn this one off, I don't want to use this anymore, I simply hide it, save that, and you can see it's removed all the paths and that quest is now hidden. If I then later on decide, yep, I do want to use it, I just unhide it, save it, and I will have to just reconnect my paths. So I'll just do the same process to reconnect. And I have my objective back. I can also do things like break all paths from and to. So I can delete all the paths to it, and I can delete all the paths, all the paths from it, and now I can delete all the paths to it. What will happen here now, if you have an objective that is not linked by any path, it will show up immediately. So this could actually be used quite well as standalone activities. If I want an objective that is not part of the main path, but I just want, maybe it's a test, maybe it's a practical in science or some other activity, I could just create this over here and then students will be able to view it instantly. So if I switch over to a student view, I'll show you what this looks like. Here is my lava cave. The student opens the map. They can see that original starting story, but they can also see this new objective. So what would normally happen, as they would open it, they would get their story, their task, mark it complete, the path continues. This objective, however, they can just complete and nothing happens because it's not linked by a path. So as I said, this could be useful for standalone activities that you want to create. And the good thing about this is that you can just simply edit it and then hide it. And then that way, that student will no longer see it. So if I go back and just refresh the quest, that objective marker is no longer showing. So it's a great little way to create standalone activities for your students that you don't necessarily want to be linked within the path, or you don't want them to have to get to a certain point before they can do it. You can just create a standalone objective. And you might want to create a whole bunch of these just down the side. And you can have a whole bunch of these little objectives that you just reveal at certain points in time, and they'll just pop up for the students on their map. And essentially, this is the Quest objective customization features. Within the Quest main homepage, there's a couple of variations. So from here, if I click on the Quest map, I get back to the actual editor. If I click the edit option, this is where I can change the name, the description. I can hide that quest from students. I can archive it if I'm finished with it, etc., or I could delete the entire quest. For teachers that have other teachers on their account or school accounts, I can just share it. So I simply click this share button, modify the name if I want, add a description, share it, and I will get a little notification to say it has now been shared. For other teachers, they'll go into their shared quest, and you can see the lava cave is now there. So other teachers on my account can now access my quests as well. And this is Quest Objectives.